So I thought this would be a good time to reflect. I've just come back from London, a couple of days, 2 or 3 days in London to visit my daughter, and it's been a bit of an emotional time for me over these past few months. Very excited for my daughter, who is now studying at a very prestigious acting school in London on a 3-year degree, but very emotional, as a doting father. And I cast my mind back to the first day when I held her in my arms, and I said, and I vowed to protect and look after you for the rest of my life, and I always will, but it's a bit harder when she's hundreds of miles away. And it's been difficult to accept in myself that she's grown up and I'm no longer needed in that way. And it's difficult. She's my baby girl. But she ain't no baby anymore. And so we've had a lovely few days in London, and it was really tough leaving her there, even though she's all settled. Amazing, really. She's only been there a couple of weeks, but she's all settled so well, and she makes me so proud. I couldn't have done it at 18, and she amazes me. She does. She amazes me how she does it. She's incredible. So I'm very proud, very excited for her. But my goodness me, I miss her. But it pushes you to reflect. That's where I'm going with this. And you reflect. Well, I do anyway. This is the way I do things. Start reflecting on the things that you did in the past, and how good as a father you've been, or whatever. And your mind always goes to the negatives, doesn't it? It always flies to the negatives, and the brain works that way. It's bizarre. Is it that Wetiko that's discussed at the moment? Is it anything to do with that? Are we being negatively influenced? Is the human DNA, I just find that, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're automatically going to a negative, aren't you? And you've got something to battle, a shadow that comes up. So I know, on reflection, I'm a good dad. And I know that. But then, as I've been processing the journey of being a dad, I find myself examining the bad parts. The parts where I've made mistakes, and there's been a few, because we make them, because we're not as perfect, are we? We're here, and we make mistakes, and we learn from our mistakes. Or if you don't, you tend to repeat those mistakes. So I find that I've been, majority of the time, on the ball, but there's been definite mistakes, but you can't help but kind of dwell on them. And I found that as I was driving home from London, you know, hoping that I'd been enough, done enough. And it's a funny thing, isn't it? And when I fell ill a couple of years ago, it was those shadows, it was that work through those shadows that I needed to do to help with my anxiety and my depression and everything else, you know, analysing myself more, looking at how I can improve, forgiving myself for the things that I've done to others, you know, and we've all done bad things. The world is like that. The world is like that. We don't live on a perfect planet. We are not perfect. It's continuously evolving. It's great and it's shit all at the same time, everywhere. And we just got to do our best, haven't we? I just think that I've got to keep improving. That's the thing, and that's why reflections are important for me. It's a process I like to go through to make sure that I'm doing better and I am being better all the time. It's part of the journey. I just feel that I've got to keep evolving, and if I feel I'm improving, then hopefully I'm inspiring, and that little part that I can play hopefully is changing the world in some shape or form. You know, we the Love and Light brigade, the New Age brigade, if you like, it's all, you know, we just got to raise our vibration, man, and the world's going to be great. But I really think you've got to look at your shadows. I think we've all got it in us. We are the light and the dark. We've all got it, and we've got to face it, and we've got to transmute it, and we've got to improve. You know, you've got to make a decision on the kind of person you want to be, really, I suppose. I know the side I'm playing. You know, this is a game, if you like, and I know what side I'm playing for, and everything for me comes down to love and helping myself, you know, more than I used to do, because I've always been about others, but trying to show myself self-love as well, and improving myself, and being stronger. But yeah, so an emotional time for sure, and it's going to be really difficult to not feel emotional when I open her bedroom door and she's not there. But she's only in London. But we're all feeling it. Wow. Well, I am so proud of her. But I want to reflect on this channel as well. You know, I think that I started it only a few months ago because I wanted to just have a creative outlet, really. It was mainly for that, and I have something to say as well. And I suppose in a way it's just my own. Instead of writing in a diary, I'd do it this way, you know, and I enjoy that process. So hence why Stellify is there, you know. And it started off very much as because of the activism that I've been involved in the past couple of years, or past 4 years since 2020, you know, being involved with amazing characters. I thought I'd start interviewing those guys, and I wanted to figure out why we are so heavily manipulated and controlled. and that's the journey. But it's becoming more esoteric now, and a lot quicker on the esoteric front than I initially planned. And my plan was to highlight the political influences that we're going under, but I just feel there's so many channels doing that anyway, and there's so much more to it than that. We are, my feeling is we are creators, all of us, great creators, and whatever's created this place, or whatever's ruling this place, feeds off our negativity and wants us to keep us negative, and that's why there is seems to be a disbalance, or a balance towards the negative rather than the positive. And if they can keep us from raising our vibration and creating a better place, then they have us under control. If they can keep us in a negative all the time, we're just going to keep creating crap, and it's just constantly going. If it's a demiurge kind of energy, if you like, an archonic thing, they're feeding off us, then we're just easy to control. So it's been an interesting few weeks where I've had some fabulous guests. I've had some fabulous guests right from the off, really. I've been very fortunate that it started so well. But the past three have been fascinating. Sarah Adams has such an incredible story. Her relationship with Max Spears, who was a big part of my awakening process back in sort of 2011, 2012. And she brought forward on the podcast some real positivity of how we are, we are the divine sparks, and we really need to go within. We are all part of the true creator, if you like, and there's some real positive messages to come out of that podcast, which if you've not seen it, I'd recommend. And then Jason Christoph, more on the sort of 3D, if you like, the human level, about the mind control that goes on. And he's just a genius, really. It's fabulous the way he puts it together. And recently Michael Feely, and a lot of people can't handle some of the things that Michael says. It's a bit too much for people to take in, and Sarah as well, and that's fine, but I certainly recommend you take what you can from anyone ever says, any of the podcasts that I put out there, anything I say, really, and you might think it's crap or whatever, but you've got to take what you think and work it out yourself, because this is your game and you are the creator, so you take what you can and create what's right for you out of it all. But I just find it all very, very fascinating. And I want to thank people for tuning in, I really do, because I'm blown away actually how well it's doing. I didn't think anybody would be that interested, but it's going really well, and people seem to be enjoying what's been put out there, and there's some great short videos, and I love doing those, because that's just part of my growth with my consciousness as well, and I hope that is part of yours as well. I put a question out the other day of what guests you would like me to interview. Have you got any particular ones in mind? I've got 3 already lined up that are great. I'll not name the names. They're coming up over the next 2 months, but they're really strong names. So I'm looking forward to interviewing those. So one of the comments on a recent video, a lady called Dawn, who I know from the time of 2020, but we have a friend that sadly passed away after the rollout of the medical intervention, and she kindly asked if it was that period of time that got me interested in these kind of subjects. Would I be doing this kind of work if it wasn't for then? Well, Dawn, thank you for your question. I would say that I've always been interested in this subject. When I was growing up, I would be the first you'd find me in a bookstore with sort of witchy type and occult type books, interested in all that kind of stuff. It's the kind of things that I would watch on television, given half a chance. I was always into the supernatural, and so fascinated by it. I've just been drawn to it, I suppose. And mediumship and various other things, that's just something I've always been interested in. I think with my awakening in 2012, which kind of opened my eyes to this world and the corruption that this world has, I think 2020 onwards definitely would have influenced me more to kind of figuring out why is it that these people, these bloodlines, want to dominate so much when they already have everything, and people are so almost docile. And I mean, it sounds offensive, but we are a lot of the times. We're just so wrapped up in our daily programming that we're not too bothered about rulers. We just accept it. Oh yeah, we've got a royal family and God save the king and all that crap. And most people kind of go along with it without too much thought. And David, I kind of, whatever people, and I say this often, whatever people think of David Icke, he brought to the mainstream certain, in the West anyway, certain stories, if you like, that have changing perception a little bit on what's really happening. And I'm fascinated by it all. And I think there is a lot to it. People slag him off for the reptilian thing and the kind of lizard people and all that kind of stuff. Now, I just think he's right in so many ways of, we look at our 5 senses and we have a narrow bandwidth, if you like, of the frequencies that we are able to have perception with. Due to our programming, I think we're capable of a lot more, and I think that's why you're going to get people like Michael Feely, who's had the experiences he's had, because he's able to witness certain things in our realm that's operating on a different frequency. And I think some of these bloodlines are tapping into that, and there is influences coming, and I may never find the answer or the conclusion, but it's interesting, and it's a subject I'm fascinated by, Dawn. So I'm going to continue to see if I can unravel more and more, as many others are. How we found ourselves here on this planet, and why are we controlled so much, and then what happens afterwards. Because I'm not accepting the fact that I'm not an atheist, so there's more to it. I'm not accepting the fact that when our physical body is no longer here, there's enough evidence to prove that something else is going on after it. So there's a lot of discussions at the moment about soul traps and various things. And, David Icke's talking about, Howdy Mikowski is talking about that. So they're interesting subjects, and we'll tackle those. And like I said, the reality we're in. I've experienced certain things over the past few years that would suggest that this reality is not what we perceived it to be growing up. There's something much more. There's something going on. And it's interesting and it's fascinating. These people already have all the power, they already have the money. They're feeding off someone else. Are we being trapped? Michael Feely doesn't think so. So that's interesting. I'm not convinced we're being trapped, but there's a lot of people talking about it. What do you think? Are we being trapped? Or are we creators, and can we... The way I see it at this moment in time, and everything's subject to change, because one thing that's guaranteed in this life, in this experience that you're having, is there is change, and we have to adapt to that. So are we able to change this reality for the better? You could live in hell right now if you choose to, or you could live in heaven if you choose to. I'm not saying it's easy to do that, by the way, but I think we can certainly have a better experience in this realm than the majority of us are having. I've seen enough over the past few years that with a change of mindset, a change of the way we look after our bodies, and our spiritual growth, if you like, experiences are better. I've had some tough times like many others over the past 10, 15 years, 20 years. But I have recently found that letting go, if you can let go, then my experiences just seem better. Going with the flow a bit, the Tao. So we'll leave it for now. And I hope you keep tuning in. I've got some great guests coming up. And I've got some great videos lined up as well. So thank you very much.